I have a question.
Yeah, good.
Okay, because it's Mother's Day, I was wondering if you could speak to family roles. And I'm an adopted mother and adopted when I was married 6 kids. And when my brother died, my religion changed, so I was like removed from the family. We're all estranged now. And I find Mother's Day to be a really upsetting kind of day.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sort of, in a way, reminds me of failure. But I also know there's karma, and I know that the karma I had with those children was over, or I would still be there, But I just wondered, how the family roles fit into, like, the plan for our souls, and how, I don't even know what I'm asking. The family role, it has to be an illusion also,
Yes.
so that it's a mechanism for, I don't know, human experience or something, and maybe we put more stock into it than we should. I work with this all the time, and I think I'm all right until Mother's Day comes, and I realize I'm still brooding over that. And then, there's one child that does contact me, and that's a child I can't be around because there's an energy drain with that person. And then motherhood is supposed to be something sacred. In India, there's the mother goddess, and there's, they worship the mother goddess and the mother energy, and there's Our Lady of Guadalupe, who's a mother energy, and then there's all of us trying to do it and failing at it.
It's different for everybody, okay?
Yeah.
But it's not uncommon for a spiritual seeker to have a lot of challenges in their lives. And it's one of the things that drives the spiritual seeking, because like a lot of people have a beautiful family life or something that is sustaining and lasting and loving, and like it absorbs that person in such a way that there's no interest in the spiritual seeking. But when everything else has fallen apart, that's what you got left. Is like, well, you might as well get to the bottom of all this, because otherwise it's just going to wipe you out. You see? So it's like, the thing about it is that your difficulties are your gifts.
Are the what?
Your gifts.
Gifts.
Those are the things that you learn from. Those are the things that take you much deeper than you could have possibly gone without them. Okay? So if you just adjust the way you look at them, as tragic, as miserable, as regretful, all these different ways of looking at them, which makes them into a curse rather than a blessing. You could find that the most difficult things in your life are what have taught you the most. You see? No. Kelly also has estrangement with her family. And Mother's Day, this year, she has totally ignored, like it never happened. And just totally wiped it off the map. It's not on the calendar. It's not in her thoughts. That's how she dealt with it. Of course, you come here and Tracy brings it up right away. So
Tracy and I are good friends, so she can be.
Yeah. So you can be grateful for bringing up the shit.
That's good.
You know, someone was going to do it. It's a dirty job.
Yeah.
But you see, so just, I think that in my case, had I not had some tremendous difficulties, the enlightenment certainly wouldn't have happened. But I was forced into it by difficulty, okay? And there's people who triumph over difficulty. There's the phoenix that rises from the ashes. But you know, the ashes burnt everything away. It was death and destruction. And then what happens is a rebirth. And without that destruction, there can be no rebirth. So the previous person that you were, in ashes, it's destroyed. But the person that you are now could not have been without that destruction. So instead of looking at life's difficulties as a burden, look at them as a gift, okay? I tell Tracy this all the time, that her physical difficulties are her gift. That's what she learns from the most, you see. So it's like, just instead of being victimized by your circumstances that are difficult, champion them. Realize that they're your friends, and they're what teaches you. It doesn't teach you the easy way. But you know what? You wouldn't have learned anything the easy way. Not what you're going to learn now, you see? So just be with it in a new way, okay? Now, you may not want anything to do with Mother's Day, that's fine. And Mother's Day might not want anything to do with you either. But your past is your gift in the present. And remember that. Take it as a gift. And you know, pain, the mind thinks that emotional pain and physical pain are bad things. The mind doesn't typically think of them as gifts. But the mind's not correct in this case. And so just more and more, you offer up everything to God. Everything gets burned in the fire. Every single thing. Every memory that you have, all of it gets burned up in the fire eventually. Everything gets burned up in the fire. If you're cremated, including your body. But figuratively, everything is going that way. So offer it up. Swaha. Offer it all up to God. Swaha, your past, the things that fell apart, the things that went poorly, the things that didn't feel good, the things that got destroyed, swaha. So when it comes up in your mind, and your mind wants to dwell on it, there's no need to dwell on it. Swaha. Okay? Just remind yourself where it goes. It goes in the fire. It's gone. It's done. And what comes out of the fire is the you that you are today. You see. So work with that. The mind likes to dwell on things, you see, and usually that doesn't serve you well, because the mind continually dwelling on the past and the things that you didn't feel good and the things that went wrong and the things that changed, all of that, all it leads to are some pretty poor feelings. And what you're doing then is you're dwelling on your ego. The ego is dwelling on itself. No good's going to come of that. Nothing good is going to come of that. An illusion dwelling on itself is just not going to yield anything that you want to be a part of. You see? So catch it when it starts and remove yourself from that process. Okay? You don't want to be involved in, well, you know, when I was at Shree's ashram in Baltimore, the Agnihotra Press, they would, the guy in charge there, John Brown, he was rough. And you know, when he could see it in your eyes, when you were thinking about yourself, and you go, ha, look at that, he's tripping. It's like, he would just call you on it, and of course, you know, I was so unconscious. What are you talking about? I didn't even know what was going, but he could see it. And he wouldn't let anyone get away with that without pointing it out and laughing at them. You know, so hopefully you would wake up, because thinking about yourself and thinking about God, which is going to give you the results you want in your life. You see? So when you catch yourself just being involved in your own thoughts and feelings and all of this drama, and you can see what the results are. The results are you don't feel good that day. The results are you're out of sorts. The results are it's hard to concentrate on anything. The results are you don't get anything done. The results are you're not happy. You see?
That's when I find out how vile my mouth can be. You know, like I never swear until it's like completely like forgotten who I am.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I swear all the time.
Yeah, but it's bad, you know, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, you just kind of like spins and then out it goes. And,
Yeah.
just, it's a way to deal with what's happening.
So you have a guru, and you can always just slide right into thinking about it.
Yeah.
You can just slide right into that. You don't have to stay in that state. I mean, like you know better anyway.
I do.
So you don't have to stay there. You don't have to pretend you're that poor little miserable whatever it is that's going on. It's like you don't have to, why pretend that? Why would you want to pretend that? Why would you want to pretend you're anything? Just forget about it. Go, I mean really, to an extent this is true. To an extent you have to know what you're feeling, but to another extent you don't have to like be feeding it all the time. You see?
Well, it's almost like you're getting set up because like things are shooting in all day long, you know.
Yeah.
You're like not thinking about it, and then all of a sudden you get like blindsided by a text message.
By Tracy saying Mother's Day.
Well, just anything that you're not expecting, and you know, and like almost like, you know, these kids are working me all the time, and they're really working me today, and I know what they're doing, and it's not necessarily what they're doing, it pisses me off that they're doing it. Like, just live your life and leave me alone if you don't like me or don't want me there. But I can't control what they do, and I'm falling for it, and that's what I don't, that's what you're saying, the swaha, and...
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, life is is going to work hard to keep you where you are.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
It's called old momentum. It's like
Yeah.
you spent, say 40 odd years, keep going a certain way, and then you change direction, right? Well, that certain way that you were acting for decades has an energy behind it that is still rolling. And so the whole universe acts to keep you where you were, right? And so it's working against you. Okay, so you're swimming upstream. Expect the challenges because really, God wants to see if you're really up to it. Really, are you? Are you serious about this? Well, let's see. And so you just prove to yourself over and over again, yeah, you are. You are up to it because this is going to happen. Guaranteed. Written in stone. You know it's going to happen, and it does. You see? So just marvel at how consistent it is.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then when you just start to get peaceful, then there'll be another one.
Yeah. Well,
Take
God
a
wants to
turn.
see if you're willing to take the steps that make it solid. Okay? Fine. Really, you should be up to the challenge, shouldn't you? Because otherwise, here's what happens. Someone attains the state of peace, and they think it's the thing. They think they found true inner peace. And everything's nice and mellow, and something comes along, let's say it's a chest pain. That peace is gone. I'm in trouble. Oh my God. And all of it's gone now. You see? So really they didn't have inner peace. They just had a period of calm. You see? Which life could easily throw a wrench into. You see? So it works to a certain extent, then it doesn't. You want something that is bulletproof. That it just doesn't matter how much shit gets thrown at you. Nothing affects your inner peace. You see? So you have to work some techniques that make sure that nothing can disturb it. But look, it doesn't mean that you're never going to have feelings that are uncomfortable or difficult, or that all the difficulty will be gone from your life. But none of that can affect your sense of well-being, of just being in the moment, you see? That's all. So just make yourself solid, and everything should turn you to God. Everything should turn you to God. Guru, God, saint. Everything should just turn you to God. So it's like difficulty should be like an automatic turn to God. An automatic swaha moment. Automatic moment of surrender. You see? And like I say, it doesn't mean you're going to feel good every moment, but it does mean that every moment is met with the same equanimity, that same sense of being that is, I'm going to say peaceful, but it's accepting and it's loving, whatever. Just work with it in that way and know that these challenges are just going to make you a stronger person. You see? Because when you're up to these challenges, you will become bulletproof. You see? Then nothing can shake you from your place. And that's where you want to be. I think you spend enough time on the ping pong machine, going from here to there, good to bad, It's like, enough. You can watch the match from afar,
Without being the ball.
or the paddle.
Or the paddle.
Yeah. You can just watch all that play going on. But you know, when you're not in it, it deactivates a lot of it. When you're in it, it activates a lot of it. It really intensifies everything. Yeah. Yeah. Really, just get less self-involved. When you catch yourself self-involved, and think about it. Think about the results. What do you get out of being self-involved? Really think about it so that you can come to your own conclusion as to whether that's really a path you want to be on. That way when you catch yourself on it, you go, oh, all it needs is a correction. It's easy to do. It's easy to do.
Thank you.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, you just think about God all day.
I was at a homa recently, and I heard that word swaha every time he poured oil into the fire.
Yeah.
Swaha.
And a flame goes out.
Yeah.
It's like, that's it exactly. So, Shree's whole thing was the Agnihotra and doing the yajna. So is
Will you say that again? His whole thing was doing...
yajna, the fire rituals.
Almost.
Homas. And Agnihotra is a simple one done at sunrise and sunset. And there's certain ingredients in it, and the effect of it is to clear the mind and the atmosphere. And it's good for everything. So that's what Shree's mission was.
So what would he do with the sunset?
Oh, the Agnihotra was just a small ritual done you could do individually in a little triangle copper pot with the different ingredients, and you would just do a small little fire and do a mantra right at sunrise, right at sunset. And so it was a way to bring that to everybody, because normally it's just Brahmin priests, Swamis who do this. But he was trying to bring back this ritual which he said was ancient, but it was for everybody.
Ananta, how long did it personally take you from the time you were doing exactly what you just told us? Like just every time something comes up, you just swaha. And I know you had that practice as well as just all the other reminders to think about God. So like in time, was it months, years before it was a consistent thing that it just happened automatically?
Well, look, number one, there's no rules about it.
Right.
If someone's ripe, it happens in a few months.
Okay.
Maybe less.
Right. I don't mean enlightenment, I just mean the part where it's automatic, that you just swaha everything.
I don't know. I'm not good with time. I've never been good with time. But it seems to me there were really a couple of intense years where everything went back to God, where it just got more and more intense. It was kind of like put up or shut up. It was like, it was a couple of intense years of pledging not to forget,
Yes.
you see. And I think it was about 2 years. I was wearing a bathrobe most of those 2 years. At home, a white bathrobe. That was my Swami outfit.
Not at Whole Foods.
No, there wasn't a Whole Foods there in Maui at the time. No, we had our own health food store then. I forgot the name. But, so, yeah, and fortunately because of my business, it was easy, and I went to India a lot at that time. So it happened on different levels at different times, you see. And basically, you go through your life, most of your life, thinking about yourself and involved with your thoughts and with your feelings. And basically, you're just thinking about you. And so the whole life is just kind of me, and it just goes on like that. And you're not the only one. There's billions of people going through their lives just thinking about themselves. They may even be working to help other people, but still in their minds, they're thinking about themselves and what they're going to do to help other people. So people are just to different levels of extremes thinking about themselves. And you know, it's a goofy thing, because who's thinking about themselves? A mind is thinking about itself. And the thing is, because we have self-identified with these body minds, the mind is just on this trip. Me, and it only lasts until the body dies. And then where does it go? Well, it was never anything anyway. It's just smoke and mirrors. So that's not even you. Before the mind took over, there was you. Before the body was born, there was you. And then the body's born, and gradually the mind takes over, and your parents help by teaching you that you are this body and mind, and how to do it right. You see, and then you just get lost. You get lost, and you forget who you were before you were born. You forget what you will be after you die. In fact, you'd rather not think about that. The mind has no interest in that, because after you die, well, that's not really a good thing for the mind. Mm-hmm. And if you've personally identified with your thoughts and your feelings and the body, then it means there's a time limit. Then what? Then nothing. But right now, the same nothing is here. The mind can't see it because it's not designed to see it, but it's here, and it is. And that which you were before you were born, and that which you will be after you die, that eternal thing is right here, right now in this moment. So you're just in the habit of forgetting. And it's like the guy said in this this video that I liked, but no one else seemed to. had a near-death experience, and he said, life's a play, and you choose to forget because it's more fun then to be in the play. Then you can fully be in the play. You see, you choose to forget. Just like when you go to the movies, you choose to forget that it's just colors on the screen. You choose to forget about your job, your relationship, everything, so you can enjoy the movie and get lost in the movie. So everyone is choosing to forget. But there's a price for that. And the price is stress. There's tremendous amount of stress and discomfort, you see, that can be eliminated if you would just stop thinking about yourself all the time. That's all. In fact, if you would just stop thinking all the time, that would solve most of your stress.
Do you find, I don't know, when you can see through the illusion that life is boring?
No. No, it's all new. How could it be boring?
Because, I don't know, maybe it's like you seeing through, you know things are an illusion, but you can't really see what's really there yet. Did you go through a stage like that where you knew that you were living in an illusion, or like that it was just a play, but you didn't know what was real yet?
I did go through a stage of feeling ambivalent about everything.
Okay.
So, like, my enthusiasm, my motivation waned, you see. I said to Ramesh, I said, my enthusiasm for life has greatly diminished, and I think this is your fault. And he said, I think it is too.
What's going on when that happens? Because if, I get that feeling sometimes where, like I'm not doing anything I thought I would do when I got to Tucson. I'm not doing, but I don't have interest in it, or, like what's the point? It's all just, none of it's real. What's the point in doing anything? How do you, is it just something, a stage you're in that you're going to pass through? Or?
Yeah, that's just a stage. You're still deeply involved in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
He says this is all mind stuff. Now, my gurus, every single one of them, were extremely busy, and they were doing stuff all of the time.
I know they do.
Yeah,
How do you get there? Because it's like, to me,
By-
it's like,
by withdrawing, you see. You don't get there. What's left of you is there already. You see, so you're still doing this as a personal journey. So along the way on that personal journey, certain things diminish. And one of the things that diminishes along the way is you. So that's all. Once the you who you think you are is diminished enough, it's fine. Look, nothing means anything. And your guru knows that. but he seems to be doing plenty, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So you see, this is a non-issue. The issue is you, personally, like being halfway there. You see? That's all. The me will find ways to fuck up everything.
I'm good at that.
Yeah, probably could give a course. How to fuck up everything seminar. Get a gold star. You should be amused. You should ceaselessly amuse yourself at how you behave. It's amazing.
Well, the word amuse, muse is the word think, and means not. So to be amused is not to think. So,
Interesting.
yeah, very interesting, because you're talking about like getting out of the thinking.
Well, you see, the thing about it is that if you can laugh at yourself, it takes all the heaviness out of it, and it makes it less important. It just makes it light. You see? And the thing about deep involvement is everything gets important and everything gets serious. You see? When people are very upset, it's very serious. And that just doesn't serve you, except to further self-involvement. You're focused on the smallest thing in the universe, which is you. You're a dust speck on a dust speck. You're nothing. But that which you truly are is everything and is interconnected with the entire universe. It's a silly choice to make, to be self-involved. It's funny. And it's also a stressful choice to make. To be connected with everything is pretty much stress-free. It doesn't mean that stress doesn't come, but it does mean that it has nothing to do with you. You see, just like this body, just like this mind, just like the feelings, they have nothing to do with you because you're eternal. The body, the mind, the feelings, they just come and go. They're not eternal, they're momentary. They're just a flash, they're like a shooting star. They blaze in for a second. Let them just burn away. Just like that. And your thoughts come and go all the time. I have thoughts, but in my case, the majority of the thoughts come and go. And there's no one continuing them. So I barely notice them at all. So really you can say it's a state of no thought. If it's not personalized, then it just doesn't go anywhere. You see, it's like nothing ever happened. And what you don't realize when you're involved in the thoughts is that even though you're involved, nothing really happened. Nothing ever
And you're
happened.
not really doing it because you can't by the ego get rid of the ego. So there's
Yes.
some other part of you or some other thing that's actually, I think because you get like you want to make it happen. And I think that's ego too.
Yes.
So there's something else that's doing this process or dragging you along through the mud of life to get wherever we're going or...
It's like the who that you are is behind you going, hello! and you're just saying, shut up, I'm trying to get to you. Stop bothering me. And you see, here's the thing. If in this very moment your mind stopped, there is peace. Feel that? Then there's peace. Your mind is not your friend. Your mind is no good at bringing you a sense of true peace. Only an active mind allows for that peace to be known.
So what you're doing is surrendering. You're giving control out of yourself into the higher divine.
Yeah, for lack of better word, sure. The surrender happens. Actually, your surrendering is an intermediate step to true surrender, which is something that you could never do. It's a matter of grace. You see, but it happens. It happens, and I had heard that, you see, grace generally happens more often in a well-prepared mind. So what we're doing here is getting your mind in alignment so that when that moment of grace comes, the mind will be disciplined in such a way that it won't steal it from you.
Yeah, you can't slip back in.
Right, you see, because the mind, everyone's had those moments of grace where all of a sudden you have this awesome experience of now, and then the mind goes, that's it! And as soon as the mind says that, it's gone. It's gone. And then the mind goes, how do I get that back? You know, the way the mind gets that back is by shutting the hell up and staying out of the way. So but you keep working with it for now. And you prepare the ground so that when that moment of grace comes, nothing can take it away. You see? So basically, that awesome experience that people have had, what I call free sample, now, just where it's just overwhelming and you feel interconnected with everything, that is a permanent state in what's called enlightenment. That's all. The ego can't take it away. Even if the ego wants to. No one cares. No one cares enough to get involved in the thoughts in that way. So thoughts come and go, whatever, who cares? It just goes on. Your place is always the same. That's all it is. I can watch my life the same as you watch someone else's life. I just watch it, and things happen, and some of them are good and some of them are bad, and no one's getting involved. No one is looking at it and saying, oh, I wish it was more like this, or I wish it was less like that. It's just watching it. And I'm being with the difficulty and the pleasure just exactly the same. There's no picking and choosing. There's no sense of wanting more of this or less of that. I'm just being with it all the same, always. The same as I am with all of you. I'm just being with you all the same. It's always the same. And it's not boring always the same. It's new always the same. Every moment is brand new. Brand new. It would be boring if you were doing it. Because the mind sees everything as nothing. And so, to the mind, nothing is boring. To the mind, no thoughts is nothing. But in fact, no thoughts clears the path for everything to be known. So.
Ananta, when your body's in that sleep state at night, is there like an awareness still there?
How do I explain it? So I dream like everybody else. Seem to remember them better than I ever had. The same way that I respond to things when I'm awake is the same way I respond when I'm sleeping. So it's the enlightenment's still there in terms of my response to things. I did notice that. I did notice that.
What do you mean by that? Like if you're having a dream of flying, there's no like excitement that you're flying. It's more just like.
Well, you know, it could be. There could be excitement.
Okay.
I mean, just because you're not identified with things doesn't mean you don't feel them anymore. You know, so all the feelings are there, but no one's personally identified with any of it. You see, that remains constant, even in the dreams. But you know, even in my life, I'm doing things, I'm working on the computer, I'm driving to satsang, whatever it is, I'm still doing things. But no one's personally involved in all of that. So it's more of a witnessing state overall, but it doesn't mean nothing's being done. It just means no one's personally doing it. And there's a big difference between personally doing something and just witnessing something being done. It may appear pretty much the same, but the after effects are different. So if I were personally doing something, then, okay, so let's say I were personally giving this talk. You know, during it and after it, I'd wonder, well, how was that? Did that go over? Should I have said that? I probably should have said it like that, etc. None of that happens, okay? There's never any guilt. There's never any pride. There's never a sense of my having done something, you see. Yet things are still happening, things are still being done, but when there's no doer thereof, there's no after effects, there's no more karma created in it, because there's no doer, you see. So it has a different flavor. Different flavor. There's a certain ingredient that's missing.
So if you were flying in a dream, it would be like, oh, I'm flying, but there's no attachment.
There's no even sense that I'm doing anything.
Well,
It's just that it's happening.
someone's flying.
Yeah. It goes on. Whatever it is, it goes on. Yeah. Just like this dream. This is just really, all this is a more sophisticated dream than you had last night. And it lasts longer. And it's more consistent. You wake up every morning to the same fucking dream. And then, it's like, so you say, well, this must be it. This must be real. You see?
Seems like during the daytime, things don't seem very real. Sometimes they do, but in the night, in the dream state, there's a lot of identification. Seems like it's unidentified dream state.
It seems more real than, You might want to have a little conversation with your dreams.
That's a good idea.
Dream state. So what that tells me is there's like a half truth in there, because your dream state's only going to reflect your waking state.
Right.
So maybe there's aspects of your daily that aren't real, and then there's other ones that get expressed in your sleep where you don't know that.
It seems like there's the ability to do the practice, in the waking state. But in the dreams, there's not the one that says, wait, who is it that's experiencing this? That one is not there. The one, the dream Jacoby at night is thinking that she's really experiencing all this stuff.
It's got to be reflecting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there couldn't be, there's not awakening to the through and through.
Right. Well, that happens when it happens.
There's only practicing during the daytime.
Well, it would seem that if you practiced intensely during the day, it would start invading your sleep. You see? And maybe next time you go to sleep, you could let that person know also that the dream isn't real. See what happens then.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's good.
See what happens. See if you can do that. The dream is just it's kind of like a way for your mind to unwind all the stuff. Because it's stressful, thinking about shit all day. And so in the dream, the mind has mechanisms to relieve some of that stress that couldn't be relieved when you were awake, because when you're awake there's certain rules and logic that don't apply when you're asleep. You see, so I don't think that if you were really, truly, fully detached in your waking state, that wouldn't also apply to your sleeping state. And that's my hit. So it may mean there's something more. So like what I was saying, people find this level of peace until something suddenly happens and it's all gone. You see? Because there are gaps. There were pieces that really weren't included in that piece, you see. And when life is relatively easy, it's relatively easy to find peace.
Seems like life is not relatively easy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always constant things that go wrong, life is life. You know, there's constant body things that go wrong and constant physical things that go wrong.
Yeah, that'll just get worse.
It does, yeah, exactly. It does get worse.
Yeah.
The older we get, the
Yeah, yeah. This is just preview.
yeah.
This is like your trailer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, this is the ride.
The movie's coming.
Yeah, the real movie.
To a theater near
Although
you.
it's interesting because, yeah, it is interesting. I don't think anything could really be as hard as law dying.
You dying.
Well, that process of all the physical pain, definitely, that probably equals
Yeah.
that. They're probably equal. The whole decay,
Mhm. extreme
extreme pain thing. That probably would equal it. Who knows, maybe I just get struck and I'm dead.
Well,
You never know.
you can always hope.
You never know how it's gonna go. And it's kind of interesting because on a certain level, you can just deal with the challenges as they come up. And then at another level, like what you were just talking to me about, at another time, then you suddenly realize, I think I'm just gonna sell the house so that there doesn't have to be all the attention that's paid to this and this and this and this and this. But then you're just dealing with other things that, it's just like swapping the everything breaking for the bikers that move in downstairs. Hell's Angels, move underneath you in a rental or something. So there's always something.
There's always something.
But when do you pay attention to the thought that says, maybe to make life a little simpler so that the attention is not constantly having to be taken outward? I mean, now there's at least the ability to mostly deal with the problems, because they kind of deal with themselves. You just have to do the bodily things that you have to do. Things sort of solve themselves, but it can be a lot of work. But it does take a lot of your attention and your time. And then at a certain space, if you have the opportunity to just go in an ashram or something, why not do it?
That's appropriate for some people, yes. Not for everyone, but certainly, but you're also in a perfect situation to have your own ashram where you live.
Yeah.
You see? You can get home shield and have all that stuff taken care of with a phone call.
Right,
Whatever.
right.
It's like, there's different ways, but look, just being in a body takes a lot of maintenance. And it just, like I say, it gets worse.
Yeah, just maintaining.
It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I have problems with my feet. And I, every day, have to put on a little bit of this there, and some lanolin here, and this and that, and it's like, I'm like to Kelly, I go, this body is a lot of maintenance. I'm not a cat. I don't want to be taking care of my body all the time.
I know.
It's
I feel like that.
Yeah, to me, it's all a nuisance.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? If you don't take care of it, it just gets worse.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
whatever.
So
What I need is
yeah.
someone, a personal assistant, and take care of that stuff.
Yeah. To just at 5 o'clock comes and says, okay, it's time for your lanolin.
Yeah, whatever. Oh, no, does it.
Yeah, exactly.
Goes under my desk and just does it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Takes care of it while I'm working.
Yeah.
but this is what life is.
Yeah.
And like you say, so you get a rental and maybe it's worse.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
So it's like, you don't know.
you never know.
So, whatever.
Or maybe you go to the ashram and then you get sick because a
Hey,
dog with malaria that never goes away.
Have you lived in an ashram long term?
Well, Lal and I probably were in India 6 months at a time.
Was that an ashram?
You know, it was a private house with going to satsang every day.
Yeah.
But it was with other people living in that house.
That's
And
not,
I was always...
That's not living in an ashram, trust me.
Okay.
I've lived in ashrams.
Okay, so in other words...
Ashrams are a big fat pain in the ass.
Cuckoo.
You have a lot of required things you have to do when you live in an ashram. And they are designed to be difficult, and you are supposed to go through it happily. And you will find, if you ever sign up for a real ashram, or, instead of maybe a spiritual hotel, if you really go into an ashram, you'll be craving for the days you had a house and had to fix the AC. You'll just be craving that. Because ashrams, look, the whole idea is to destroy the ego. The ego does not go down like, oh yeah, okay, I give up. Oh no. The ego puts up a fight, which means the ego makes things difficult. And it means that unless there's extreme difficulty, the ego won't give up. Ashram life is not easy. You can fantasize about it. You can visit an ashram. And it's like so easy. It's like all you do is chant and meditate all the time. Talk to the people who actually are there for years. That's not what's going on anymore.
Yeah, because when you visit, you're on vacation.
Yes, exactly. And it's designed to accommodate for that. Okay? It's like no one wants to go to an ashram on vacation and be worked to death.
Yeah.
But talk to the people who are on staff, who are there all the time. They don't have time to chant and meditate.
Right.
They're too busy. And there's too much going on. And they are stressed out. And they haven't had more than 4 hours sleep a night for a couple of years. And it's like, you want to see the shithead fat? That'll do it. And that's what it's designed for. You can't, an ego won't break unless it's cracked. And it will not give up unless it's put in extreme difficulty and it's forced to give up. So you see, you should take your difficulties as your gift.
Well, that's what, so far I've been playing the game like, okay, whatever is my situation now is what God has given me. It's the perfect situation to practice whatever shows up. Because the grass is always greener on the other side. And you can
At the other ashram.
Yeah, you can go to 5 million different greener grasses thinking you're going to have more time to practice, but if you can't just practice where you're at, so there's no course correction needed, because if I'm ever supposed to sell a house, it'll just happen and I'll be pushed into it or pulled into it, or consciousness will just do it, right?
I imagine.
That's how I think.
Yeah. You may want to do that regardless, but this thing about the things you have to take care of being a distraction, that's just in your mind.
Right.
Because the things that you have to take care of, they're not going to go away. They might just be new ones that you're not used to or unfamiliar with, so they'll be even more difficult. Life is always going to be a long series of interruptions and burdens and constant maintenance, and it really, what's going on here? I mean, I spend most of my life eating, shitting, and showering. You know, really, what is this? You know, it's like, it's all a distraction, all a burden. You know, it's like, why even concentrate on that? You know, this stuff is going to happen, right?
Yes.
Something is going to break.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then when you fix it, something else is going to break.
Yeah.
That's how it is. And it's the same with your body.
Okay.
You know, something's going to go bad, then you fix that, and sure enough, something else is going to go bad.
Next thing.
And then the broken thing that you fixed is messing up again. And it's like just this constant thing. It's like, you know, your car is getting older and older. And eventually it's not going to be worth fixing anymore.
It's kind of like, to me, I mean, not worth messing with now. It's like, oh, I'm trying hard to be responsible with this car, but whatever.
Yeah, you see, all this is unimportant stuff. And you know, you're always going to have something to do. So just, oh well, how is it distracting you? Because you have to pay attention to this instead of God. Why can't you pay attention to God while you're doing this? Is there a law? You're just using this to divert your attention. You know, it's like everything is God. Everything is God. Your broken air conditioner is God. You know, whatever it is, your need, whatever it is, it's all God.
Yeah.
So just, there's no problem. There's no problem going on. There's nothing should distract you from everything.
So that's good, because it just kind of answered the question that comes up every now and then for me, which is, should I make my life simpler? And the question is, or the answer is, you know what? I'm not to pay attention to that thought until consciousness just pulls me or pushes me. Because the practice is right now in every single moment, and not somewhere else.
Your life would be simpler if you made it simpler here. You see? If everything is about God, how it's simple.
So this is what I'm noticing, is that, I mean, cooking and cleaning and non-thinking things, there's a God. I mean, because there's, it's my practice. It's my practice to chant or something. But it goes more into like just pure emptiness when I have to fix the pool. Then it's like just everything is in motion, and there's just a lot of attention going outward, just dealing with details. Not a lot of thought, but still the attention is outward. And then it's only when I think about it afterwards, is like, did I forget God, or was that God? You know, I mean, it all gets solved fairly miraculously, but...
There's a thing, it's called being one-pointed. Okay? So if you're doing something and 100% of your attention is on the task at hand,
Yeah.
and no other thoughts are there,
Right.
then you have cleared space for that experience of the present moment, okay? Now, the mind is fully engaged in one thing.
Right.
And so you're just being one-pointed in your work. That's what mantra is for, too, to focus the mind. And as long as it's focused, then you see your mind's going to do something anyway. So if you keep it one-pointed, if you keep it focused, then it's a form of meditation. Okay? Now, meditation does not mean sitting in the lotus position without any thoughts. Okay?
Well, it used to mean that, but it doesn't mean that anymore.
Well, you know what? It's a very limiting definition of meditation.
I don't have time to do that.
That's why, at the end of the talk, I never say, let's meditate. I always say, we'll sit quietly. You see? Because most people's concept of meditation is not true meditation. It's an exception for most people when they can sit with no thoughts. That's an exception. And all the meditation teachers I've heard of are always talking about thoughts arising and subsiding. That's just natural. Now you have a situation where you say you're doing the dishes and there's no other thought. That's it. And you're totally focused, and this is then you feel good afterwards. You feel refreshed. It's a meditation.
Yeah.
Okay, so being one-pointed is a way to get your mind into alignment with the moment. And you see, that's all you need. And it's a good starting point. And a good way to keep that momentum of being present, fully present in your moments. You see? Everything could be like that.
Yeah.
Calling the AC guy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess that sort of switches because vacuuming and dishes and silly stuff like that, even yard work, it's like a more bhakti, where my heart is involved, and there's more that bhakti melting surrender while the activity's happening. But then the other stuff where the mind is one pointed, it's like, okay, this is what needs to be, okay, follow this and this and this, and then the pull sticks. That's more like all of a sudden just emptiness, clarity, task, one pointedness. It's okay.
Yeah.
I just thought that was forgetting God. Because it wasn't.
It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
It's just presents more of a challenge for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because it's not your forte.
Right.
And usually when something's really not your forte, you can call someone to help to do it.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to worry about
I
it.
always do, but you always have to manage that person usually, so that they're not taking your tools and stuff.
Okay, I don't know about that.
Doesn't matter. I mean, it all works out anyway. But okay, thank you, because that answered a big question for me.
Okay.
Yeah, because I thought that was forgetting God. When the attention goes so outward and it's so one-pointed and focused.
Just for the record here, we're just getting your mind into alignment with this, but ultimately, it's not you forgetting God. It's just that God has not forgotten you, but you're not aware of it. It's like, right now, all there is God. Right now, that's all that's here. You just don't see it because you're focused on yourself. But in fact, right now, all there is consciousness. All there is that awareness, that sense of being. That's all that's here. Okay? When you're busy in your mind, you don't see it. You're not aware of it. Occasionally your mind stops and that awareness arises of the present moment and the interconnectedness of everything. suddenly you're aware of it. And then the mind comes in and goes, that was cool, and it's all gone again, you see. So really, the idea, right now, you're trying to remember. I did this too. But really, what you're trying to remember is already there. And your trying to remember doesn't make it more there. All it does is get the mind into alignment with the facts. And that's all. Keep working with it. Somehow it can help. But in truth, you've always been who you are. You've always been fully connected with everything. And whether an illusion realizes this or not is not relevant. And ultimately, all that needs to happen is that the you who you think you are is diminished. It's diminished and brought down to a level where it can no longer veil the truth from you. That's all. Mm.
So Ananta, do you think in this culture we have a harder time getting it or letting go of personal identification? Because, I mean, we've been talking about problems that arise in our daily living, but for most of us, these problems are first world problems. They're not, kind of issues that people in third world countries deal
I know,
with.
that's when I said to her, I said, well, things aren't that bad. And, I'm thinking like, there's people who don't have a house to live.
Right. So do those, is that why you think it'd be easier for us, but
Well,
what?
there is a double-edged sword.
Isn't it?
Okay? On the one hand, we're comfortable enough where we have the spare time to think about it,
Yeah.
as opposed to thinking about where's dinner.
Where's the next meal coming?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So there's that. But then there's the fact that all the material stuff that we have is a big distraction from looking at it. Whereas someone, say in India, who lives on the street, they have nothing to lose. It's not such a big deal
Right.
to let go of everything because there's nothing anyway.
Right.
You see, so it's easier on that level. But who has the time when you don't know where your dinner's coming from? You see,
know.
so it's like both are difficult in
Right.
different ways.
Different ways.
In different
I
ways.
just wondered if enlightenment happens more in those kind of cultures than it does here, or not.
I think there, and it's also a cultural thing there. So there it's something everybody knows about. Everybody. Not just a few people or New Age whatevers.
Right.
Everybody knows. It's more commonly known than Jesus here. It's like everybody knows. Everybody, it's
Yeah.
like, and so it's a very much of course thing in terms of enlightenment and spiritual, the kind of spirituality that I talk about. That's all. But it doesn't.
Yeah. So you're right. There are different cultures that present different
different.
difficulties
Well, yeah, because you
or
see,
challenges.
this is a well-designed illusion. It's not easily broken. It's not easily found out. If it was, it probably wouldn't exist anymore, you see. Because in order for the sustenance, for it to continue, it has to be pretty foolproof. So only a few cases. That doesn't ruin it. That's all right. And even if you had like a whole village somewhere who got it, that's okay, because there's another village near them who didn't get it, who will take all their stuff and kill them. You see, so that doesn't matter. That's easily remedied.
Right,
The illusion continues.
right.
And so, but it's designed for that. So only a few cases, and it doesn't matter which culture, which situation, they're all set up in such a way that only a few people really get it. Most people will be thoroughly convinced throughout their lifetime that everything here is real.
Right.
Yeah.
Therefore, the movie continues.
Indeed. Well, the play, the drama continues, and it works, you see, so that, and then, it's like a good television series that goes for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But it does, yeah. I was reading, seeing something, it was on Timeline, about these people who existed, who the people who did the Dead Sea Scrolls, who wrote them, they don't know much about them. And much of what they knew about them wasn't true. And now that they've done some archaeology, these people, no one knows who they were.
They
Or
were-
what? Hmm?
I couldn't hear you.
No one knows who they were or what they were about. And they're just discovering now. And who knows if their theories are right? I suspect most of them aren't. But, they're more convinced than ever they have an idea. But, it's like, Jesus, this was 2,000 years ago. And we have the same thing here. We have this great society. 2,000 years from now, people will be making up theories about us. Half of them will be wrong. Yes.
I just have a practical question about the practice.
Sure.
So, so let's say a thought comes, and is there any value? Like, I just had this idea. I don't know if it's correct. Can swaha be also denial? Like, in other words, are we pushing something away, thinking we're swahaing it, as opposed to accepting it and then swahaing it? Like, I wonder if there's like a difference. We think we're, like something comes up and we swaha, swaha, swaha. But are we? Maybe we're just trying to push something unpleasant away, and then that doesn't really work, do you think? Or
It's a very good question. Along the path, everyone's sincerity gets tested. And you have to have very, very good, keen discretion. So it's very easy for the mind to continue its mission of keeping away the stuff it doesn't like and trying to draw to itself the stuff it does like. You see?
right.
So Vasant, the enlightened disciple of Shree, when I was in junior high school, I heard him talk. It was the first time I heard an enlightened being talk. And he said, And he was talking about Agnihotra and all this stuff. And people said, well, this is a new idea. He said, yes, people are very quick to accept new ideas as long as everything remains the same as it was before. And this is what the mind does, is it has now these spiritual concepts, which it uses to do what it did before it had the spiritual concepts. You see, and spiritual concepts are very powerful, and they're a very good tool for a while. But if they're misused, they yield very poor results in terms of one's sense of inner peace. So I was able to run things up against the sense of what I felt with my gurus. So I knew that feeling of unconditional love. Like I could feel when that was there, because I had experienced it with multiple gurus, that feeling of unconditional love. It's the same with all of them. And so I could feel when my own self-love was off, when it was conditional. You know, it's very easy to love the parts of yourself that are difficult if you think loving them will make them go away. You see? That's conditional, and it won't yield the results that you want. You can tell by the results you're getting whether you're on the right track or not. This is where your discretion comes in, where you have to be able to discern how clean are your motivations here, you see? And it would not be surprising for the mind to apply a spiritual concept to try and benefit itself in the way that it wants, you see? So you do have to be careful with all of the concepts, not just the swaha, but all of the concepts. The mind can use them to further strengthen its domain. And its domain is what you don't need, you see. So, but if you're sincere, you'll catch them. And if you're insincere, and all you want is that sense of personal happiness, you'll trick yourself. You see? But you can tell by the results. If you're on a spiritual path and you're not getting the results that you expect, start looking at your own actions and see if what you're doing is actually trying to benefit the ego on a path that is meant to dissolve the ego. Okay?
Yeah.
But that would be a common pitfall. And yes, it can easily happen. And I can't prevent it. You know, only you can prevent it. If you're sincere, you'll catch it. It may take a while. But if you're sincere, you'll know when it doesn't feel right. So please use your ability to really focus on what is happening. Okay? Yeah, but it's a valid point, and I've seen it happen in my own case and in others, you see, but I caught it.
I think if I ask myself, am I judging something, is the way I can catch myself.
Sure.
Because anytime there's a judgment, is definitely non-acceptance.
Right.
So that might be like my first step then.
But even there, you want to be careful.
Okay.
because you don't want to be judging your judgments either.
Don't you, instead of judging it, wouldn't you be filtering it and taking what serves you and then releasing the rest back and moving forward?
That would be ideal.
Well, that's what.
Say that again?
do.
Say it again for her.
You, instead of judging it, you just take the lesson and you take what you can, what serves you, and you let the rest go, because
Right.
the rest of it has no place except for continually play in your mind and rob you from the next step that's waiting for you to get there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like to not think, you know, when
That's
something comes up.
great.
Like, just don't have a thought. And if you notice a thought, just go back to something.
Well, no. It's okay. Just don't get involved with
Right,
it.
right.
Don't get personally involved with it. Thoughts are going to come. You see?
Yeah,
Even a judgment may arise,
yes,
but you don't get personally involved with it.
right.
Then it just arises and it subsides. You see? And you would expect certain judgments to naturally arise. Depending on your conditioning, they're going to happen, certain ones. Certain things, certain feelings.
And I think our society, you know, we're brought up thinking we have to be self-reliant. It's like this whole untraining instead of God-reliant. We're not taught that. So it's like having to undo everything that we've told we should be, self-reliant and practical and figure out things and be this and that, when it's not taught to us to be God-reliant from society. So it's having to undo.
Well, a lot of this is, you understand, what you were taught was how to play the game,
Right.
how to be in this play.
And that's what we are relying on. So sometimes it's hard to say, it's like, I know this isn't really the truth, but I think if I put something into the hands of God, then I'm kind of not taking responsibility. But that's just, I think,
But you
that's the
see-
wrong teaching that I was taught.
Well, you see, the thing is, what has taken responsibility done for you?
I know, no, I totally know, but I think that's why it almost feels like that.
You're
And that's
copping out, huh?
undoing. I have to undo that belief because it's
Yeah.
just an automatic, oh, you know, is that really what I should be doing? Kind of,
Well,
instead of, you know, but I think it's just practice.
ideally, you would be able to look at it and say, is this really working for me?
Right.
Is this belief that I was raised with really happening?
And at least I'm questioning, you know, before that I wasn't even doing that.
Yeah, of
And
course.
it's just, I think, an undoing where it doesn't feel quite normal because it's not normal. It wasn't something we were taught from young.
Mhm.
So I think it's just practice, really.
Isn't it more of a matter of letting go of control? Because giving
Right.
it up to God is letting go of control. And
So-
we have a problem with that because we're like, okay, God, I'm gonna give this to you, but wait, I want this part back, and I want that part back, and I want.
Well,
that
this is
part
really tasty. I want my chocolate.
back. Right, and so it's not a matter of redefining how you were raised or anything, it's a matter of redefining what, and it's the hardest thing in the world to do, what serves you and letting it go, because that's giving it to God. And without picking it apart with your ego and saying, oh, wait, you know, okay, I'm gonna give this to you, but wait, I wanna control this part, and I wanna control that part, and I wanna control this part. I don't know how you get to that point, because I'm working on it all the time. And I know that you're supposed to empty your mind and just flow with life, and when those thoughts come into your head, you start doing your mantra, your chants, whatever, and bringing your mind back to a place of tranquility and peace. But then you go back again where, okay, well, all right, so I said that I was gonna let you take me to this place because this is where I wanna go in my life, but all of a sudden I wanna rope it back. It's like you're bargaining with God, and actually you're bargaining with yourself for control of it. You can't have both.
Right. But you understand, what you're doing is a half measure.
Yes.
Okay? You are personally giving it to God, you're personally surrendering. But the surrender happens as a matter of grace. The true surrender takes over. And it happens on its own, without your help. Ultimately, the true surrender is like that. In the meantime, between now and the true surrender, you're trying to mimic what it would look like, but you're still doing it, and because you're involved, that involvement continues. It's conditional. It's always conditional if you're involved, because you are conditional. You're not like 100%. When you say, I'm going to give it all to God, it doesn't mean that God says, good, there's no reason for you to be here anymore. Bonk. No, that's not okay. That's not what I signed up for. I thought this was going to lead to something really good. That's why I was doing it. You see? So you're still locked into...
I don't think it's a matter of thinking that it's going to be a good trip. It's a matter of like allowing the lesson to unfold, which even that is, even when it does unfold for us, when we finally get that aha moment, we still kick ourselves in the head and want to take back some portion of it. So how does that, I don't think it...
It's just you're approximating what would happen if the grace was there and the surrender were complete, okay? Because it's just an approximation. It's not a bad practice, but it's just a practice. And it's not the complete thing, okay? You're getting a picture, a sense of what it would be, and then you're getting a sense of what's off when you do it, okay? The true surrender has nothing to do with you doing anything. It's simply...
Letting it be?
Well, yeah, it's simply you getting out of the way.
Right. And that's the part that's...
You can't do it. If you could do it, you would have already done it. You've certainly tried hard enough. So, you see, it's not for you to do.
It's just happen.
Well, yeah, and trusting. Trusting is a free fall. The true surrender is a free fall. And, trusting that God's going to catch you, right? Maybe he's busy with something else. I don't know. So it's all right. You do the best you can. And it looks like you're doing a pretty good job of mimicking what true surrender is. But don't fool yourself into thinking this is something you can do.
Yeah.
This is just something you can mimic. But all of these things we've been talking about are just things that you can mimic. Swaha, all of it. These are just things that you can mimic that are like the real thing. But like I say, the enlightenment, that sense of true peace, happens more often in a well-prepared mind. So what we're doing here is preparing the mind for that moment of grace, because the last thing you want is for that moment of grace to come and for the mind to start interfering with it. So at least if the mind is prepared enough, when that moment of grace comes, no one's going to be paying enough attention to the mind for it to mess it up. Okay? So that's fine. And you go on. It sounds like you've done a lot of practice with this and have actually had a fair amount of success. That's great. That's great. You continue and use your intellect so you don't fool yourself. But don't fool yourself into thinking you can do it, because you can't do it. It will happen. It will happen. Have faith. It will happen. It's just not on your timetable.
Or your direction.
Yeah, exactly. And what Ramesh, he was always amazed with me because I was young and I was interested in this. He's like, what is your rush? And it's like, I couldn't help it. And one time he said to me, he said, the enlightenment will happen in its own time, in its own sweet time, in its own sweet way. Just left it like that, so I wouldn't be all worried about it. And impatient as I was by nature. What?
Impatience is a form of control.
Yeah. Well, bad news. Even after the Enlightenment, there's still some impatience in this case. It still arises sometimes. Not intensely like it did before. Certain things, are in your chart. Certain behaviors, certain things are deeply conditioned within you. They don't change. Other things do change. And you don't get to find out what things change and what things don't until after it happens. You never know.
What are some of the things you noticed that did change?
I don't know. Well, I mean, basically, my stress level. My stress level and my inner dialogue was gone.
Oh, you talked about the backpack thing.
Yeah. Well, there's just this. There's a big change in terms of that. So the things that remain are shadows of what they were before, and no one's involved with them. But it doesn't mean it doesn't arise. It doesn't mean that just because Baba had the enlightenment, he didn't start going off and yelling at people now and then. It happened. Because that was in him. And that remained. There's someone like Ramesh, he never yelled at anyone. He was always...
But the gurus will use that anger in a different way. They use it to get at your ego.
Oh yes, of course.
Boy, that will just, they can destroy you with their anger.
Oh yeah.
And they're doing you a favor by doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Baba and Nisargadatta, but Ramesh, he was mellow all the time. So he didn't use his anger for that.
No, he was probably wheeling and dealing on the side, bringing it in from sideways or something.
Who knows? But I knew him pretty well. That wasn't his thing. It depends. Everyone's attracted to their particular messenger. Mm-hmm. And, yeah. So certain personality traits continue. But the difference is there's no one involved. So maybe before the Enlightenment, someone might get angry at someone and think, oh, I shouldn't have said that, oh, I hope it didn't hurt the feeling, whatever. But then after the Enlightenment, same anger happens, but no one has an afterthought about it. It doesn't, you see, none of that goes on. What's that?
In the end, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. Of course not. In the end, nothing matters.
In the end, nothing matters.
And actually in the beginning, too. The whole fucking time. And on that note, sit quietly for a short time.